What's up YouTube? Thanks for checking back into the channel. So as somebody who have had the Iron 883 for a few years and now a Sportster 48, I've been getting a lot of questions from Instagram and some other places around like, what do you think is the best bike for me from the Sportster line? So I wanted to just take some time and walk that through with you all. Before I start, I just want to let you know that these are just my opinions. These are my thoughts, but I'm happy to kind of weigh in and give you all, sort of how I think about it. And hopefully it'll give you enough information to figure out what bike would work best for you. So like I mentioned, I've had an Iron 83 as my first Harley, really loved that bike. I was a newish rider and I thought the Iron 83 was a great bike to start on. And it was. And then over the years, as I've gotten to really grow as a rider, gain some experience, added some parts and mods and stage 1 and all of that stuff, put in a 1250 kit for more power, really grew to love it. Then I traded that bike in for a Lowrider S, a Softail Lowrider S. And now I'm back on a Sportster 48 and I still have the Lowrider S. So I feel like I've gotten the best of both worlds. So that's the context, that's the perspective that I bring to this. As somebody who had a Sportster and then came back to it, what do I think about the differences between the 883 and the 1200 bikes? So let's start with the Iron 83 and I'm going to walk you some of the pros and cons. Pros being, the Iron 83 is the cheapest price point for a brand new Sportster. And even if you wanted to go through the used route or the secondhand route, what have you, you see a ton of these typically on the used market just because people tend to upgrade their Iron 83 to a different bike. So tons of availability both in new and used. If you want to talk about aesthetics, I love the blacked out look and the matte finish. That is a very, very popular combination in terms of aesthetics. It's also a very beginner-friendly bike, meaning it won't jump out at you if you accidentally give it too much throttle. It's a very forgiving motorcycle within the realm of Sportsters. So let's talk about handling on the Iron 83. It has that skinny front tire, which makes handling really easy on this Iron 83. Again, making it a really nice beginner-friendly bike. Point the handlebar anywhere and the Iron 83 just goes. There's not a lot of negotiating. Similar to the 1200, they have the same specs in terms of tires, but where the difference is your handlebar position is a little bit higher. It's all going to depend on your personal preference, whether you like the bars a little bit higher or lower. Now, the downsides for me when you're comparing against the Sportsters, obviously it has the lowest displacement, so the weakest in terms of performance. And if this is your first motorcycle, you'll get used to that power very quickly. It's also great for short rides around town, but you might want to modify some parts if you're considering longer distance. So in a nutshell, that's the Iron 83, some pros and cons. Now let's talk about the Iron 1200. I kind of nicknamed this the Baby Dyna. If you really think about it with the mini apes, it really does look like a little baby street bob. So with the Iron 1200, this does get the 1200 displacement, which is great. As far as cruisers go, I believe that that's more than capable of most types of situations, most types of riding, whether it's highway or around town. I think it's great. When you're talking about ergonomics, this is probably the best riding position out of all the Sportsters. And I'm not including the Sportster S and the Nightster in this because, that's a different beast on its own. They're a different category in my book. So yeah, going back to the ergonomics, the riding position with the mini apes, it puts you straight up for the most part. For most riders, it's going to be very comfortable. You have mid controls, the same as on the Iron 83. And overall, if you're looking to get something that's a little bit more distance oriented, I would say the Iron 1200 is probably the best route in terms of like if you're thinking about longer distance right outside of your town. The downsides to me, from what I can gather, the aesthetics are not for everyone. It has that throwback AMF design on the tank and also has a few subtle differences in terms of styling from the 883. So that's the Iron 1200 in a nutshell. I'll also mention that with the Iron 1200 and the Sportster 48, to me the 48 and the 1200 have more room in the lower gears, meaning you don't have to shift as quickly off the line versus the 883. The Sportster 48, this is the current Sportster that I have. To me, it's the best looking Sportster with that peanut tank. Again, aesthetics are subjective, but in my books, I think it is one of the better looking Sportsters because everything is like really proportional. It does have forward control, so if you're a taller rider, you have a lot more leg space, but it may be a little bit more difficult for shorter riders. On the Sportster 48, it does have the bigger fat tires, which makes cornering slightly more difficult to navigate. It's not my favorite between the Iron 83 and the 1200. In terms of like the ease of maneuvering the bike, I would say the Iron 83 and the 1200 definitely beats the Sportster 48 in my opinion. The Sportster 48 does come with different mag wheels. Again, this is all gonna come down to personal preference. I actually grew to really like the mag wheels on the Sportster 48. I still think the Iron 83 and the 1200 have really nice looking mag wheels, but the Sportster 48 mag wheels kind of edge it out for me. Let's talk about the downsides a little bit. To me, I think it's pretty obvious. The peanut tank is 2.1 gallons, I believe. So realistically, that gives you about 80 to 90 miles on a tank. When you think about the real world applications, it makes group rides really difficult because you're always constantly going to need to refuel. And when you're riding with other riders that have bigger tanks, bigger Harleys, they might find that a little irritating. So just keep that in mind. The riding position also on a Sportster 48, as a shorter rider myself, I find it a little bit awkward. My legs are really stretched out front of me, and then you kind of like have your arms stretched out and I'm leaned over. So it kind of gives you that V shape, like that clamshell shape as I'm riding, which after about an hour or so, things start to get really painful. That's the overview that I have of the Iron 83, the Iron 1200, and the Sportster 48. I think it's just a very quick summary of all of the three bikes. People have asked me why I went with the Sportster 48 instead of the 1200. The Iron 1200 is definitely more comfortable. Yes, very much so. But again, with my Sportster 48, I really wanted to go for like just all out aesthetics. What I thought, in my opinion, is the best looking bike, especially if I'm going for a bobber style, right? It already has the bars a little bit lower, so I don't need to get different lines. The Iron 1200 does come with the mini apes and the lines are longer. So that was one thing. Like the looks, I prioritized looks over comfort. Like basically there really is no comfort on my Sportster 48. And so why am I prioritizing looks? Because one, when I take photos of that bike or when I take videos, I just love the look of that bike. Given that I have a Lowrider S for longer rides, the Sportster 48 is, to me, the perfect just zipping around town kind of bike. Now, I can do longer distance if I want to fuel up every, 60, 70, 80 miles or so. But yeah, for around town, I think the Sportster 48 is perfect for my needs. If this was my only motorcycle, meaning my only Sportster that I could have, I might have considered the 1200. It does give you the taller bars right off the bat. It has a larger 3.3 gallon tank. It is set up a little bit more for longer distance riding than the Sportster 48. The Iron 883, because I've had it before, that wasn't really in contention for me. I would say though that if you are a new rider and you're kind of unsure or you're not quite sure if motorcycling is for you, the Iron 883, especially if you go the used route, I think that could be a really nice choice. You can get a ton of bang for your buck on an Iron 83. I've seen them all over the marketplace for, you can get them anywhere between, I would say like between like 4 to 7,000 is where you can find them on the used market. So yeah, like if you want an affordable option and you'll have more money down the line to upgrade the engine, by all means go for the Iron 83. But that's just sort of my general assessment and the reason why I chose the Sportster 48. It looked the best for me. I want to go with that bobber style, and I love the peanut tank. It just looks great to me. So hopefully that was helpful for you. For any of you that are looking at a Sportster, especially the 883, 1200, and the 48, trying to decide which one would work best for you. Of course, you probably want to test these out before making a decision. If you want something that can do a little bit more distance, go with the 1200. Or if you don't care about distance and you just want a really good looking bike, zip around town, Sportster 48. Or if you want to save a lot of cash, go with the 883. Or if you're new and you want to save cash because you don't know where this is going to lead to, perfectly fine to go with the 883 because there's a lot of things you can do down the road to increase the power and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, this is your choice. This is your hard-earned money. You make that decision. But I'm just here to offer my opinion. But thanks for tuning in, and until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace.